there's blood on the dagger. Now this is probably from his intruder, from his attacker. When the Iceman was recovered, his hand was found firmly gripping the flint dagger, which is significant, as in he had he had gotten shot in the back and he had been in a conflict. So here he is trudging through the snow up the mountain passes, holding a dagger, waiting for his attackers to reveal themselves again. So it's conceivable that there was an episode where he had fought someone, and then the man may have come back as he had his back turned, shot him in the back, and the Iceman, maybe with a few other men, and the Iceman had fled up the Alps.
Okay, from the information we have, we can assume that the Iceman was skilled at recognizing raw material available to him and using that raw material to his best advantage, such as the skills of survival techniques that are probably not in use today, or not rarely in use today. He could pretty much be self-sufficient, repair whatever clothing or tools that he needed with the tools that he got from the environment.
Sure.
So he was finely tuned to his environment. You had mentioned that he was shot. When you say shot, was it a stabbed or arrow or wound, or what was the wound? What was the investigation regarding this wound?
Well, it was found that he was shot by an arrowhead. Now, it's interesting to note, as scholarship has been done by Nona Nygaard, and in the Mesolithic period, which is thousands of years beforehand, wild boar hunters would would aim for the left shoulder blade to maximize the chances of killing their prey in the first shot. And it comes as no coincidence that this is the exact area where Ötzi was shot at. So it leaves very little doubt, especially from the blood samples that we found, that this was in fact an accident. It was purposely done. The area that was shot at it's too coincidental to be otherwise, and it was obvious that they were going for a one-shot kill.
Any possibility that this could have been from a previous incident that he recovered from and then possibly died subsequent for other reasons, starvation or fall?
Well, I would say that he died not directly from the wound, but he died from the blood loss from the wound, and the shaft of the arrow was obviously missing, which he probably pulled out himself. And what he died of, he was able to trudge with this wound up a mountain pass, but eventually, as we can see from the high impact fall, from the positioning of his body and the ditch over the rock in an awkward situation, he probably would not have wanted to rest on this rock. The rock was jagged, though the positioning of the rock could have afforded him protection from the wind. It seems more likely that he had passed out from blood loss and from exhaustion with this wound, and that would be the cause of his death.
Of all the tools and clothing they found in his possession, they found something called a stone disc. This is like a stone actually connected to a string of some sort.
Yeah, a series of leather bands. Now, it's debatable whether or not this had religious significance. This would probably be the only material carried by the Iceman that could infer this. Basically, the connection is drawn that the stone tassel is made from the same material of locally found, of stelae found in the Lake Garda region. Now, to clarify, these stelae depict figures with axes and daggers, and they served religious function, and these were mainly votive offerings. So the argument can be made that this served as a religious function. I, however, would argue that it served a more utilitarian approach, and from the absence of any other materials, it's very difficult to say that he was a shaman, as some have argued. It would have been a means of holding his leather bands together, which he would obviously use to fashion new materials. This would have prevented them from getting crumpled up and would have been an easier way to carry them. That's how I feel.
What was the composition of the stone? Was it a quartz, or did they?
It was a marble. It was a piece of marble.
Okay. The physical size of the Iceman, approximately 5'2", 5'3". Could you describe him, how he compared to others of his time and versus modern
Sure.
man?
Well, this is extremely interesting. Well, the Iceman stands at 5'3", and that would have been average with his contemporaries from the region. Now, in terms of generally from men from the Upper Paleolithic to the Neolithic, he's a little shorter than average. Yet, this, however, does not mean he was by any means weaker than any of these men. There's no fatty tissue, subcutaneous fatty tissue found on the man, which means that he led a highly mobile lifestyle. He was a strong individual in regards to tibial strength and bone strength in relation.
When you say tibial, what's tibial?
The tibial would be a bone area by the lower thigh, and this would be indicator of movement. Basically, this, as regards to his bone structure, were highly strong in relation to his body size. Now, his tibial strength, a recent study was done by Christopher Ruff comparing his body to contemporary bodies found, and basically his tibial strength was the highest in the sample and was much higher than the average relative strength of an average Neolithic man. Now, this is significant as his body is more similar to a Mesolithic as opposed to a Neolithic man. He is dated to the Neolithic age, which is the Copper Age, the cusp of the Bronze Age. And the fact that his body is more similar to a Mesolithic, who were the hunter-gatherers of the period, thousands of years before, as opposed to the sedentary Neolithic man who's beginning to settle down, beginning to farm, would indicate that he lived a highly mobile lifestyle and probably served the role as either a shepherd or a hunter. Now, his femur strength is relatively average as compared to the Neolithic man.
Tests were also done, and they discovered that he had blue eyes, he had dark brown hair.
Yes.
DNA tests were done. I guess the DNA was preserved, and they were able to come up with some findings?
Yes, that's correct.
What did they find?
Well, DNA samples were done in terms of just trying to determine the racial background of the man and where he was from. 8 samples of muscular connective tissue and bones were taken from the left hip. And the sequence that occurs most frequently would be that of the European male from north of the Alps. 7 out of 15 individuals from the sample revealed identical sequences. Man had the furthest difference or standard deviation from the man's DNA sequence would be found from the sub-Saharan, the Siberian, or either Northern American Native American strands, and the man is closest to Northern European.
So what you're saying is he's pretty closely related to the people that live in that Alp region today.
That's correct.
Okay, so he probably would be an ancestor of someone living in that Bolzano area.
Yes.
Okay. Any information regarding language skills, or is that something that they couldn't make a determination on?
No written materials were found on the Iceman in addition to pottery, so it's extremely difficult to even classify him in regards to a culture. There's not much we can really say about. What
about the tattoos? Were there any letters or
No. The tattoos were done in geometric patterns, which mainly used to follow along the curve of pressure points. So not much can be said about that either.